I'm here with former world number 9 and former PDC major champion Paul Nicholson. Thank you very much for talking to us.
That's okay, no problem.
First of all, we have to talk about you, because you told us last year that you would go to Q school. However, I didn't see your name on the list.
Yeah, the intention was to go to Q school. Obviously, things at the end of 2022 were very busy. I didn't get in the right amount of practice that I wanted to. I think doing the Motor Super Series was the right thing for me to do, to find out where I was with my game. Mentally, I felt great. I just get the feeling that I didn't put in the recommended time to trouble the talent that was at Q school. Personally, I think I probably still would have gone in the end, just to see where I was playing in that sort of company. But during the World Championships, I wasn't very well at all. I was really struggling just to fulfill my duties for TalkSport 2. My voice was not in a great place. If it wasn't for things like apple and ginger shots from the local cafe and the right kind of teas, I'm not sure I would have got through it. But when the whole thing was over, I thought, okay, I can maybe have a couple of days off and I'll be right for it. But I wasn't right for a good week after that, so not going was the right decision.
So will we see you at the Motors Super Series this season, or are you just fully committed to doing commentary?
What I've decided to do this year is maybe take a little step back. I'll maybe do a little less work with some of the broadcasters. I have a few other ideas that I'd like to explore, but the possibility of playing in the Motor Super Series will be there, I think. And I think once Super Series 2 is over, we'll explore the angle of maybe playing towards the end of Super Series 3, if indeed they want me to do that, because I'd like to have another crack at it to see where my game can go from there.
Sure. You have obviously traveled around the world playing and commentating on the World Series and the European Tour. Also in Denmark, the World Series has been here 3 times and the European Tour twice. What is your experience of the Danish darts culture?
Well, it has a rich history. That's the first thing that comes to mind with me. I have almost an ongoing conversation with some of my pundit friends within the sport. We talk about the likes of Brian Sorensen and the late great now Jan Hoffman, Per Skau and Per Larsen, of course. There's always been somebody at the forefront of Danish darts, but I'm always looking to the future, and I just get the feeling that maybe we're waiting for that next superstar to come through. It's easy for us to say that someone can be found and they can come through and do what, say, a Geraint Price has done for Wales, what maybe a Simon Whitlock has done for Australia, and these kinds of things. But it's a very difficult thing to do in a country that is so rich in other sports. Great footballers, great handballers, great golfers. There's a lot of competition for sports out there, and it's not the biggest of countries, but I'll tell you one thing, when we come here, we get greeted with great fans like this.
Yeah, as I said before, this is the 3rd time that the World Series has come to Copenhagen. 2 times before we had the European Tour.
Yeah.
Do you think the PDC is satisfied with what they have gained from coming to Denmark and the Nordic and Baltic region?
I think they have to be, considering what you're wanting to do by casting the net wide with this tournament, and the naming of it is very apt. The Nordic Darts Masters covers, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and the Baltic region as well. Here's the thing about the European Tour event that happened twice in this country. It only focused on Denmark. So by casting that wider net, you're trying to capture people from Iceland and more from mainland Europe. And I think that is the right play right now, because there are things happening in Iceland, there are good things happening in Scandinavia too, but I do get the feeling that we need to dig a little deeper. As for what I said previously about finding that next superstar from Denmark, I think the same could be said for the likes of Finland, Sweden and Norway, which has made huge strides in sport in the last 5 years with Erling Haaland and Karsten Warholm. So and Jakob Ingebrigtsen, I can't forget about him. But I think if we want a darting superstar from these countries, we need to find who that could potentially be in 10 years. And I think that comes from really good groundwork with the young people who like to play. Let's see what they can do. But with all due respect to the guys coming through now, we have some good players, but as for future superstars, we might have to wait 5 to 10 years for that.
And this being a World Series event, there's been a lot of talk about the value of the tournament as a sporting tournament. Do you think that the World Series brings any value to the game of darts?
Yes, I do. I've seen what it's done for certain countries throughout its time. It's been happening for 10 years. I mean, look at the strength of Australian darts right now. Cadby, Heta, Whitlock. We've had Anderson, we've had myself, we've had Gigi Mathers. It works. And there's only going to be one World Series event in Australia this year because everybody will congregate on Wollongong and it will be an event. New Zealand is a good, strong hold for the World Series. Fantastic place to go. It's the right place to go as well. I just get the feeling that we're having a 2023 where maybe we're in some familiar territory with New York, with Copenhagen and the others, but maybe there is another place around the world that we can go to as well. Maybe dip your toe into South America and see what's possible, or even Central America and Asia. They're doing work with the Asian Tour, and I think it's the same model as the Nordic and Baltic Tour. They're trying to unearth that next crop of superstars. It's very necessary, and a somewhat truncated season of only 5 big World Series events, I think is the right thing to do.
One thing I also wanted to talk to you about is, besides doing commentary and playing, you also have begun coaching other players. Well, one thing is you coaching, but it seems like coaching is going to be a bigger and bigger part of the game. What do you think that will mean to the sport going forward?
It's the next big evolution of the sport. Everybody knows that there are some big name coaches out there. Wayne Mardle has been at the forefront of it, but I've done some somewhat sort of behind closed doors coaching with some top professionals and with some good up and coming talents over the last 5 years. But now what we have is a framework with the Junior Darts Corporation where you can be qualified as a coach through a college in England, and everybody wants to be part of that. When people take inquiries, can you coach me? The previous curriculum vitae for that was, I used to be a player and I've done it. Nowadays it's about what have you been taught? What experience have you got of coaching people, whether it's young, old, somewhere in the middle? Now we have people who have a little bit of both, which is great. And it's not just good for the sport, it maintains safety, safeguarding for kids under the age of 18 so they know they're going to be looked after in a right and proper way. This evolution, we'll not really know what it's going to do for the sport until maybe 5-10 years time. But I've seen what it's done for academies in England, and that's only going to get wider as it goes to Europe and around the world.
Just a quick word on Vladimir Anderson. He found it tough last year. He has said that he wants to commit even more to the Pro Tour this season. However, he has said that it was hard for his confidence last year and he hasn't been able to produce it to the best of his ability.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to him to come back stronger for this year?
Remove the pressure of trying to keep his tour card. I think he should use this 2-year period as a mission to get more information about himself, both from a talent perspective and from a mental perspective. I admire some of the decisions that Vladimir has made in the last 12 months because he said, am I going to play? Yes. Do I want to play this weekend? I'm going to take a step back. He's made decisions that other people won't make. I like that. It shows strength of mind. But over the next 12 months, I think he needs to learn more about himself. But throughout the course of the year, it would be really good for his development if he was to pick up a couple of wins against high-hitting players with a big average, a really big performance that he can remember and say, I did that. I don't think he's had that yet. When he got the tour card, I thought maybe something was possible.
Yeah.
In 2023, take the pressure away, see if that performance will come to him, and then remember that performance. Write down as well, what did I do right in that game, then do it again. This game is about replication. So go out there, give it your best. At the end of the year, he will be a better player no matter what happens.
Looking forward in 2023, what are you looking most forward to in this starting year?
That's a big question. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing where the ladies' game goes by the time we get back to Blackpool for the Women's World Match Play, because I would like to think that the field for that match play for the ladies will still be 8 players. I think that's the right amount, and maybe a field that is a bit more tightly knit. I think we all looked at De Graaf, we looked at Sherrick, we looked at Ashton as possible winners, but maybe with the influx of the girls from Japan and some of the other big hitting players from Europe, I think it could be a better tournament this year. I'm intrigued to see what Josh Rock does. I think 2022 could not have been much better for him, but let's see what he does in 2023 with what we call second album syndrome. The first album was a definitely maybe in Oasis terms. Let's see if it's as good as Don't Look Back in Anger after that.
And one last question. Last year we saw a lot of different players winning. Do you think this season we will go back to see a player like Michael van Gerwen, who finished last year brilliantly, start to dominate the game again?
I'm not so sure about that. I think if you were to ask Michael van Gerwen right now, was he happy with 2022 as a whole, he'd say yes, but I was disappointed with the third day of 2023. But overall it was an incredible season, but I think the era of domination for one player to be better than everybody else, and it's categorical, I think maybe those days are over. We've got Wright, we've got Price, we've got Smith winning big majors now. It's a great time for the sport, and what I want for this sport more than anything else is for it to follow in the footsteps of tennis. We had Murray, Djokovic, Nadal and Federer, and Del Potro and Wawrinka, and everybody swarming on these Grand Slam titles. I want an era of that for darts for the next 10 years, because if we have, lots of unpredictability and lots for us to talk about.
Yeah, we will cross our fingers that will happen. Paul, thank you so much for talking to us, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much. And just to clear one thing up, I know that definitely maybe was the first album of Oasis. What's the Story, Morning Glory was the second album for Oasis, so there we go.
Yeah, we'll make sure to make that in. Thank you so much.
Thanks.